Good evening. My name is Rafi Dudaklian. I am your guest host today, and I will be with you for the next 2 hours. Armenians walked to Dzizernagapet today. Tens and tens of thousands of them walked and remembered. Among them were government officials, the president, political parties, representatives of all political forces of Armenia, foreign dignitaries, representatives of foreign governments, and simple people. They do so every year on April 24. Today, I will talk about these issues. I will talk about the issues of Armenia-diaspora relations, and I will have a series of interviews with Armenians from Yerevan and abroad. My first guest today is Arman Jilavian. Welcome to CivilNet. Arman is the Aurora Humanitarian Initiative CEO, and you've been with Aurora for 3 years, I guess, right? How did this initiative start? Why was it created?
Well, it's a very good question, and I can talk about this hours. It's a logical continuation of many things that the founders of Aurora are already doing for Armenia and for different humanitarian causes, Ruben Vardanyan, Nubar Afeyan, and Vartan Grigorian. From one hand, this initiative actually takes its roots from the Armenia 2020 project when Nubar and Ruben and other people from diaspora, from Armenia and non-Armenians started to think like, what is the road Armenia should take? What is the role Armenia should play in the world? And why not, what is the mission and Armenian people globally on the planet? On the other hand, this is an absolutely personal story which can be met in many Armenian families. This is very personal for Ruben and Nubar as well. Their grandparents have been saved from Nubar's grandparents by German and Austrian officers. Ruben's grandfather by a Turkish person during the genocide dates in Ottoman Turkey. And they have been asking, as many of us, questions, why them, why they were the lucky ones, who they own their own today's success, and what they should do to give back. And on the third hand, which is also important, it's when we were discussing together, as well as many other organizations and individuals in Armenian diaspora, how can we contribute during the days of the centennial of the Armenian genocide? An idea came to mind that now, luckily, it's obvious, but those days it wasn't that obvious, is that, look, usually when talking about Armenian genocide or this type of atrocities, we talk about those who have been killed, and of course we should continue honoring and keeping their memory, and those who were the killers. However, there are two other actors that not that oftenly discussed. These are those who have been saved, and many of us are children or grandchildren of those people. And these are those who saved us, non-Armenians, Americans, French, German, Russian, Turkish, Kurdish, Armenians, Arab people, of course, probably first of all, and how we should say thank you to them. So the project started as a 100 Lives initiative at the beginning, and the mission of that part of the project was to collect and to tell the stories of the savers and survivors. The next step about this was to say thank you to those people and now to their families who saved Armenians many years ago. And as a result of this, Armenians are the winners, we believe, of that tragedy, because we continue to be in this world. We continue our cultural tradition. We continue to give something to the world. However, after a series of developments, discussion, evolution, we came to a conclusion that the best way to keep the memory of those who saved Armenians and to say thank you to them many years ago is actually to support those similar type people, saviors or the modern day heroes who continue putting their lives at risk by helping other people's lives. So overall, this is a very important part of the Aurora, and the philosophy of Aurora is gratitude in action, is that we do not only say thank you, but we do something which actually is the action. And Aurora is this action of this gratitude that we want to express.
That's so nice and interesting. It's very interesting to see two Armenians, one diasporan and another born in Armenia, joining forces together, thinking alike, and coming up with an initiative which is not only Armenian-oriented initiative, but it's a global initiative. It's oriented towards the world, towards the global community. And why is that? Why are we thinking now globally? Is there a reason for that?
Well, first of all, let me just add to what you said that it's actually three of them, and Vartan Grigorian, who was not today in Yerevan, but he will join us during the May events. He's absolutely a great visionary and probably, I would say, one of the most prominent Armenians today in the world, and it's really three of them, you know, with covering all the different intellectual directions, first of all. I believe, and it's my personal believing, is that Armenians have always been global. We should have been global if we were the world's first Christian nation. We've been global because we have been always connected to the different part of the world.
Always had diaspora.
Absolutely, and I think we did not have any other choice not to be global with the empires around us and the different and being at the crossroads of everything: civilization, time, strategy, trade, whatever you call it. So it's just time to get back on the world map. It's time to reinvent our mission, and it is, from one hand, a very future-looking initiative, but it takes roots from our own culture, because our culture is global, and we are part of the world. And yes, by this initiative, we do see Armenia as one of the humanitarian hubs, humanitarian centers, humanitarian points on the world map.
Continuing on the same subject, do we have also non-Armenian participants? We know that we have a committee who selects the nominees for the award, for the Aurora Award. But besides that, do we have other type of involvement from non-Armenians globally?
Yes, and on all the levels. Well, first of all, of course, it's our, as you said, our selection committee, co-chaired by George Clooney, and the members of this selection committee. It's just such a great luck to work with them and to be part of the project that they lead. Mary Robinson, Hina Gilani, Gary Evans, Zedilio, Oscar Arias, many other people, and they're really, and they're not formally just voting, they really guide and lead and give advices and are part of this. The donors, 30% of the donors who joined as the members of the Aurora movement, 30% of them, and I think, I don't want to be incorrect in the figures, but it's around 200 people today, and they're non-Armenians from all the different parts of the world, from Americas to Australia, Russia, Middle East, all the different countries. Our team members, we have quite a few team members who come from London, who come from Moscow, who come from different parts of the world, and this is actually very important also for the project. Our partner organizations and the key service providers, Edelman being one of them, it's one of the world's truly international communication agencies, and their role is very big. EY globally, who take care of all the auditing and all the processes and the vote auditing, to name but a few. So we are lucky that we have non-Armenian international participants from the top level to the daily work level.
That's fantastic, but at the same time, the main operation is centered in Yerevan.
Yes, that's true. Although the project has very important presence in the United States. We created a foundation in Geneva, being one of the humanitarian centers of the world. We have different teams working on the project also from California, from Moscow, but the team in Yerevan, it's based here, but we have 6 members of the team out of the 20 who are non-Armenians and who moved to Yerevan to work with us.
Today we had a meeting with Nubar and Vartan, along with many other guests, and we were talking about a variety of subjects, and they discussed a very interesting idea, and it was an open discussion between the guests and themselves. And the idea was the following. Armenia has been a recipient country in the past 20 years. Everybody has helped Armenia. After the genocide, a lot of nations, a lot of people helped Armenians, the refugees, the survivors. Now it's time for Armenia to help others. How do you explain that? This initiative is also showing humanitarian, initiatives starting in Armenia. Is that also a philosophy of the Aurora initiative?
Absolutely, you're right, Rafi. It's the very in our DNA of the Aurora initiative. But one thing I want to say, I think in a way maybe the Armenian elite, if I may say so, is a step or two behind the Armenian people. Because ordinary Armenian people all over the world, in diaspora, in some small towns, I don't know, in the Midwest of Americas or in some small towns in Australia and Middle East, have always been helping their neighbors, non-Armenians. So I think in the Armenian psychology and Armenian psyche, we are actually much more international and much more global, and are always a helping hand to our neighbors. Doesn't matter what nationality they are, doesn't matter what religion we are. So it's time of the elite, I think, to understand what is really people thinking about this. So this project, of course, shows this movement. And of course, we can't be a successful nation, we can't be an interesting for the world nation if we don't give anything to the world. And our mission, I think, through different types of the history, and it's part of our culture, has always been giving, right? We are one of the few, if not the only nation, who has Saint Translators Day. And that means that we were accepting the knowledge from all over different places. Some books that we have in Matenadaran are actually the only first-hand translated copies. So I think this connection has always been. I think the Armenian people feel global, think global. Sometimes the daily hardships, do not allow them to express this, but Aurora does express this. Of course, we had different discussion, and of course, it wasn't easy. And at those inaugural days of Aurora, last April 2016, specifically after the war in Karabakh, we had a lot of discussions how the people will react to this. One of the finalists was Pakistani. Wouldn't the people say, hey, why do you give money to, if the Pakistani finalist who would win, to Pakistan, who doesn't have diplomatic relationship with Armenia, doesn't recognize Armenia, and so on and so on. But the courage of the founders, their visionary thinking was there. We decided to continue doing everything as it should be done. And it was April 25th already, and everything was over. And of course, as member of the team, we all were quite tired, and I was having just myself a coffee in one of the Yerevan street cafes, and I just saw that our finalists walking on the streets and ordinary people just greeting them and even kissing their hands. So this was actually an explanation that the Armenian people are much smarter than we sometimes can think about them, and they are absolutely both open-minded and open-hearted. And Aurora is about open-mindedness and open-heartedness of the Armenian people, as long in the family of other very kind and open-minded and open-hearted people.
Arman, thank you very much. This was a wonderful interview, and I'm sure you will continue doing fantastic work. Arman Jilavian, our guest today, Aurora Initiative CEO.